Yo, what's up, my gamers in Christ? How are we doing today? Today is the date of February 19th of 2026. It is 10:03 a.m. CDT for that guy that doesn't exist. I hope we're doing well. I hope we are doing well today. We've got a lot to talk about. A whole lot to talk about. It seems that while I don't have this in the news browser necessarily, it seems like we're getting ready to invade Iran. Get excited for that, you know, born too early to die in the Middle East, born too late to die in the Middle East, but born just in time to die in the Middle East. That is what the American combat standard is, ladies and gentlemen. Right off the bat, I do want to apologize for not streaming yesterday. I had a bit of a headache and had trouble sleeping the night before, so I figured I would just hold off and come to you guys today a brand new man. A brand new man. Anyways, besides us invading Iran, that's a pretty big story, former Prince Andrew has been arrested. Lock him up. That's what they did down there in the UK. Unfortunately, we don't seem to be doing that here in the US. But, yes, Mountbatten Windsor, or whatever the fuck his name is, he's out of here. He's arrested. Put him up, buddy. Besides that, we do have an ongoing DHS shutdown, which will be interesting if we decide to invade or attack Iran, because, you know, it is a relatively well-known fact that there are some cells of Iranian extremists in America. I mean, it's not necessarily big news, you know. So I genuinely wonder what the outcome of this is going to be. This more than ever has felt like a distraction from the Epstein files. Because if we were going to strike, we would have done it when the protesters were there. But we didn't. It just feels like a complete distraction. But we've got an entire piece about the Epstein files by Simon. We'll be watching. I try to do the nicotine. I'm trying to quit vaping, okay? And I'm trying to do the nicotine pouches, and sometimes they're just too much for when I first am waking up, you know? It's just too much, dude. No, thank you. Anyways, let me check, make sure everything's going well here in the live chat. By the way, if you guys are enjoying the stream, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and gets me boosted out there in the algorithm. I will be getting started with the true show here in a minute. First, I want to do some gaming in Morrowind. But it is insane to see Europe and other countries take actions against the Epstein class, but our very own lawmakers won't. Our very own lawmakers won't. And I think this does damage not only to our trust in our justice system, but it also does damage. It normalizes Epstein to a certain degree. Because if our very own authorities don't think he did anything bad, or don't think the people around him did anything bad enough, then what is the general populace gonna think? There has been a growing acceptance of what Jeffrey Epstein did that I feel is completely astroturfed, honestly. I don't know where it comes from, but any normal person is going to be disgusted by that man's actions. So there isn't a campaign right now though to normalize his actions. I don't know where that comes from. It's definitely not organic. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knew Epstein was this disgusting creep. And, you should be investigated if you were hanging out with him. Sorry. And why hasn't our very own president been dragged in front of Congress, you know? It's not like he has a special privilege against that. Anyways, besides that, I think we'll obviously get into our PBS NewsHour as well. But yeah, I think there is a growing campaign to try to accept Jeffrey Epstein for what, maybe not for what he did, but kind of clean the image of him up. They're doing what Bannon wanted to after death. There we go. I'm not going to try to say that big word. Sorry. Too early in the morning for that. Check back in 2 hours. Anyways, we have to get a skull in Morrowind right now, and I have no idea where that tomb is. So that's going to be exciting to go through. Alright. The tomb is south of Peligade. Okay, I think I know where that is then. No fret. I am a gamer. By the way, the spam calls are back. Yeah, we got away from them for about 2 weeks, and now they're back in full force. Why is there not a law against this kind of stuff? I feel like there should be a law against these mass spam calls, because obviously they're not going to fool me, okay? But if I was some old grandpa, you know, I used to play Pong back when it first came out, I might get confused by some of these spam callers. Especially as they implement AI. We just need laws that are actually up to date, though. And the only way we're going to do that, right now is voting in Democrats, ladies and gentlemen. It's the only way we're going to get any accountability right now. These midterms, they better be D. Well, I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but what I personally would vote for is the D. Sorry, when I started my stream, as I just got out of a discussion on Loner Cord, that is the epitome of brain rot and of broatics. Jeffrey Epstein versus Hassan Piker. Oh my god. Could you please tell me something dumber? I don't think you could. Such a stupid and idiotic fight. Duh, I'd rather have Jeffrey Epstein because Hassan's big scary. I mean, that's literally their argument. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. This is like, these are fake. Damn, this rat wasn't hurting nobody. This rat wasn't hurting nobody, and I just murdered him. Kind of feel bad. Oh well. Guys, Hassan Piker is a dipshit, okay? He's an absolute dipshit. Doesn't know what he's talking about. We all know that. But the more you talk about him, the more you're going to raise his notoriety. I even kind of am kicking myself in the back right now for even bringing him up right now, because, like, I understand the more you talk about someone, the more you're increasing their popularity. Especially with Hassan. Like, how do they not see that? I genuinely don't get it. Like, the more you put Hassan, like, compare Hassan to these higher positions of power, you're giving him more credit. Because he shouldn't even be compared to the higher positions of power. He doesn't want higher positions of power. That's not what Hassan does, you know? Hassan likes to get his ego, you know, boosted, and likes to feel like, you know, he's the epithet of the epitome, my bad, of people who like he's like the epitome of the bro feminist that was only a feminist because he thought he could get laid. Like, that's Hassan. I'm not too afraid of that dude. Of course, this all started out with Hassan versus Trump, acting as though Trump, and that is another horrible talking point because it excuses Trump. You're saying, oh, well, we have these extremist elements in our party as well. Fuck no, we don't. I'm sorry, but Hassan would do like 80% things I agree with, 20% things I highly disagree with. Like, and I'm sorry, but that's just the math you have to do. But anyways, I'm giving this brain rot talking point too much, great, now I'm late. Bill. You gotta be careful. No, you're good, brother. We're talking about brain rot anyways. We're talking about brain rot that doesn't matter anyways. Just the Hassan versus Epstein stuff. So stupid. Alright, after this song we'll get started. And just kind of disappointing, like, we could be debating so many other things right now other than Hassan versus Epstein. I'm actually very excited to see that Pisco debate coming up. I think it'll be good. If you guys don't know, Pisco and Hutch are going to be going at it today. And I kind of want to do that as one of my first debate reviews. Who knows? I may debut my debate review screen a little early. I don't know. We have to hit 500 subs, so if you aren't subscribed already, please consider liking and subscribing. Really boost out the channel. Oh, something else that I am absolutely just inspired and amazed by is Mina's goal. Mina's charity that she had set up ended up making over 10,000 euros. Think about that. That's 10,000 euros worth of blankets, power packs, heating pads, all to go to the Ukrainian civilians who are freezing in this. Can I unsubscribe and dislike to lose 5 inches after doing it so much on 13 meters tall? Well, why would you not want to be 13 meters tall? Isn't that every guy's dream? What you guys don't know is I actually sacrifice a little bit of my height for that. So, you know, that's the only reason I'm 5'9". I'm Captain Sparkle sized. Very embarrassing, I know. Shout out to Captain Sparkles, by the way. Alright. Shout out to Captain Sparkles, by the way. I mean, one of the original YouTubers. Somebody I idolized as a child very much. And he's still doing it, ladies and gentlemen. He is still making Minecraft videos. I mean, think about the dedication. That's impressive, no matter how you split it. Think about the amount of dedication that had to go in. I mean, he must really love Minecraft, you know? Wonder if you guys can tell who this is. It's the Jeff. The Jeffries. So anyways, we're gonna watch this video by Into the Shadows about old Jeffrey. And then I have some other comments I want to put out about old Jeffrey here.
Epstein.
But to begin with, you know what? Actually, to begin with, let's watch this piece. And then we'll watch this piece. And then we'll watch this piece. So, Bloomberg Television, former Prince Andrew arrest sends shockwaves.
News that the former Prince Andrew has been arrested is sending shockwaves through the UK. It's a development, a moment that was unthinkable for years. Now, in the continuing fallout from the Epstein files, we know that the brother of King Charles was taken into police custody on suspicion of...
Why can't we do this? Why can we not do this? I mean, for real, why can't we?
Misconduct in public office. A police statement said there are searches of properties in Berkshire and Norfolk underway, and vehicles believed to belong to the police have been seen near Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's Norfolk home. And we've now had an extraordinary statement from the King himself, saying that he's learnt the news with the deepest concern, that he asks for a full, fair and proper process to investigate this issue by the appropriate authorities. Let me state clearly, he says, the law must take its course. The police
okay, so that's badass. I won't lie, that is coming from the King. The law must take its course. I mean, sounds to me like he's okay with his brother getting arrested.
But it's believed this investigation relates to the period when Andrew was a UK trade envoy. Material released in the United States appears to show information about investment opportunities being passed to Jeffrey Epstein. The former prince has denied wrongdoing in relation to his association with the financier and convicted paedophile.
By the way, check out Mr. Beat's last post on the community tab. Let me do that real quick. Yes, I was watching this. This is such a good meme, dude. It's so good. And I won't lie, Judas by Lady Gaga goes hard as fuck. Alright, Mr. Beat. Let's see it, Mr. Beat. Let's go to post. Here's some big freaking news. Y'all remember Tracy Mann, my congressman I've been bugging about in the midterms this November? Now fully supports uncapping the House. All right, well, look at this man. This is going to be my representative. What's his name? I have been needing to get into local politics. I actually made a couple shorts grilling my local city council on some ideas that or some of the decisions that they made, but I don't know if that's quite good for content, you know what I mean? It talks about zoning laws and we should be building, like, so recently my city has decided to build a golf course on residential plots. And these residential plots are actually very important because they're supposed to be an area for things like plumbing, and other essential utilities. And we do have issues in this town with things like that, utilities and stuff like that. And so they've decided that the leisure activity of a golf course is more important than reduced cost for housing, for one, and reduced bills. You can't make this shit up. I was reading it and I was just shocked, ladies and gentlemen. I was absolutely shocked at, I mean, it feels like these people don't live here, you know? It feels like these people don't, the people on the council do not live in the city that they are supposed to be residing over. But let's see, Colin Tyler, is that what I'm saying? Sorry, I can't read from here. Just Colin? Well, let's go, Colin. I'm voting for him. Vote blue no matter who, my gang. Vote blue no matter who. And it looks like this guy's pretty cool. Listen, I think uncapping the house would be a good idea. I don't know if it's like, you guys know me. I think the main issue is gerrymandering and the filibuster. Uncapping the house, I mean, definitely I like the idea. So, I just don't know if it's one of my main drivers, but I do need to do more research into it. I'd love to have a conversation with good old Mr. Beat. Cool guy.
An investigation. There are no charges at this time. However, we are now in new and uncharted territory for the British royal family. And one detail, the arrest comes on Andrew's birthday, the son of the late Queen Elizabeth.
Whoa! Okay, that is insane. Snapping can reduce gerrymandering? True. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I need to see I just need to see more arguments for it. I haven't totally delved into her, but if it can help with that, then you've got my vote. I really do think gerrymandering and the Supreme Court decision that they put down is so idiotic. Yeah, you can discriminate based on political lines. Isn't that bullshit? Anything can be political if you draw it back enough. So stupid.
Has just turned 66.
Well, good. I hope he fucking burns in the fiery pits of hell. Fuck this dude. Disgusting man. Lied about fucking R-wording a woman. And then, when it came out that he lied, tried to lie again and say he didn't sweat. What a loser. Anyways. Do you guys like squids? Look how cute this guy is. Don't lie, this is one of the cutest things you guys have ever seen in your life. Look at the little dude! Look at him! Oh. Isn't it cute? Oh my god, they're adorable. I want one, dude. I'm sorry, I want one. I believe that's a cuttlefish, right? They're so smart, too. This is like... Octopuses and squids are my dream, they're my dream animal, you know what I mean? They're smart. They are silly, and they look cool. I mean, look at that dude. Doesn't he look sick as hell? And they're playing. Oh my gosh, my heart. My heart. Oh. Yeah, guys, I think if I ever become a big streamer, I'm gonna get a cuttlefish. Look at how he just attacks with his little inside grabbies. This headline. Let me check it out. One moment. The screen may go dark for you guys. Soot-covered print. Poor guy. Ah, that's so sad. Well, not really. I wouldn't call it sad, but he's definitely in a state. He's definitely in a state. And possibly not from this planet. You know, I have seen the theories about octopi and squids being products of panspermia, and I think that's actually pretty interesting because they don't necessarily act like most aquatic animals. Oh, dude, you're gonna make me. This is gonna be the squid cast. This is gonna be the squid cast. Oh, dude, they are so cute, though. I'm sorry, they are just like, they're so cute. This is when my gay side comes out. There's nothing gay about calling something cute, by the way. I was just memeing.
What does that mean to our viewers?
The force feedback, it gives us a 40-pound to 1 ratio of...
Can I just step in for just one moment? This is almost like a pose picture. We have a jellyfish, Dumbo, a flatfish, and a shark, all like in the screen at the same time. Sorry, back to you.
And another guy came in just to...
Oh, yeah, he's jealous.
That's a rocket one.
We got another flatfish that came in,
He's trying to sneak in.
Do we want one more zoom on the Dumbo before we take
Oh,
off?
yes.
Oh, yes, we do.
Might as well. We're here. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Hello there, little fella.
Hey, what's up, buddy? Oh, look at his little eyes. Okay, gosh, you guys are...
You can extend out and get even closer.
Oh.
It's crazy how female sharks can just reproduce asexually sometimes, and science don't understand how fully or why.
If you extend out,
Huh?
you can
You
get
can see
closer.
his little
Oh,
suckers.
I'm already
Oh, you're
extended.
extended, yeah.
And you know, octopus have a
Just
beak
so
for
shy
a mouth.
with his
It's really
ears.
cool.
Oh,
And their relative squid. Nautilus fall into their classification. I mean, not us as the
Cephalopods.
ship, but
Cephalopods.
And he's
Did
got
you know that
ears.
Yeah.
The
He's so cute.
brain is wrapped around the esophagus.
what?
Oh, that's wicked
That's
rad.
so weird.
So they can think their food down?
Or the other way around.
Their brain is wrapped around their esophagus. Hey, I know a couple people like that. Am I right? Hey!
Hold on, now I'm getting confused.
The brain is in their esophagus?
Oh, yeah, the brain,
oh,
the brain is
he's
wrapped
shy.
around the esophagus, so they shouldn't be swallowing
I'm
anything
taking a
too big
million
or they'll
pictures.
explode their brain.
Oh.
Wrap it up.
Bright light, bright light.
This
go
is
away.
what scientists do
Sorry.
when we're really excited.
They ink?
Totally normal. No, we don't ink.
All right.
All right, let's take off and let this guy go back to his dark world.
Okay, little fella. Fly, be free. But just
Oh, yep.
We'll
gotcha.
definitely put that
It's all right.
up on the.
What a beautiful creature, honestly. And then you got this guy. He's being silly. And you know what's fucked up is that this guy and this guy would probably eat that guy. And that is why nature is evil, and I can't wait for my mechanical body. Anyways, yeah, now we go from cute to whatever this is. Jeffrey Epstein doing yeah, there's been a lot of news about Epstein. Like we were just covering, Prince Andrew got arrested on his birthday. Little bit of a meme right there, but we've got even more. So let's listen in on what Simon has to say. One moment, I got another link. If this is another Squid link, I'll definitely watch it, but... Oh, that is big. That is big for Donald. So you guys know how the Board of Peace is going on right now? Well, there is a certain member who's not going to be on there. Pope Leo will not be joining U.S. President Donald Trump's Board of Peace, the Vatican's top diplomat said, adding that the United Nations should be left to handle crisis situations. Amen. Fuck this little pay-to-play Board of Peace bullshit. We already have a fucking international agency. You should fix that rather than trying to make something new. I mean, you were the one that made it. We are the ones that made the UN.
Name on everybody's lips, and apparently in the inbox of scores of politicians, celebrities, and business tycoons. Nearly 7 years after the man was found dead in his prison cell, we're still peeling back the onion layers of his vast and complex operation. The Epstein files have been dripping out for months now and represent a vast amount of information about the man, his associates, and how his operation was able to run with such relative smoothness for so long.
All I'm gonna say is once the complete Epstein files are fully unredacted, without victim info, of course, I feel like a lot of the liberals that are saying they'd choose Hassan or Epstein over Hassan are gonna start sweating that they defended this man. I know it's a meme, but memes are how fucking Donald Trump became a president, so memes are powerful.
This was a man whose depravity will mark him as one of those notorious figures in history. Sex crimes against children, a dangerous thirst for power, and a darkness that's already engulfed countless lives. So, let's take a look at some of the most depraved shit from the Epstein files, shall we? Perhaps the most depraved aspect of the Epstein files is not a single story or a single victim, but the fact that this shocking conveyor belt of horror was carried out with the precision and single-mindedness of a multi-million-dollar company. It was slick, highly organized, and we're still only just beginning to understand it all. At its center was, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, the big dog.
Yeah, this is something I like to remind people. We're still uncovering things about Epstein. We don't know the full story of Jeff. Add
out from there, and you find a tight web with numerous people involved. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner, who's currently serving a 20-year sentence for child sex trafficking and connected offenses, functioned as a chief operator. She would help recruit, groom, and manage underage girls, train them in how to behave, and act as an intermediary between Epstein and his victims. In her trial, one victim said that Maxwell had opened the door to hell. Then you have Sarah Kellen, born Sarah Kensington, a former interior designer who started working for Epstein in the early 2000s, initially as an assistant in his Manhattan office. However, numerous allegations claim that she also played a fundamental role in what was happening behind closed doors. Her responsibilities reportedly included scheduling massages, coordinating travel for victims, greeting them at properties, leading them to their rooms.
Yeah, we still don't know how he made billions. Exactly, dude. Like, there are key stories missing from there are key parts missing from Epstein's story that just don't make sense. And honestly leave room for conspiracy. I'm sure you guys have seen all the Israel conspiracies. So those have been fun.
For whatever was going on. However, quite remarkably, she has never been charged with anything, and to rub salt into the wounds, she even applied for and received compensation from the Epstein Victims Compensation Program, asserting that she was
fucking
also
disgusting.
She currently owns luxury property in both New York and Florida, valued at a combined $11 million,
Disgusting
so
and
she's not
shameful.
doing too bad compared to some of the other victims. Alongside her was Leslie Groff, who apparently looked after the girl's living needs as well as maintaining the rules of behavior, allegedly. Nadia Marcinko, also known as Nada Marcinkova, whose responsibilities range from piloting Epstein's Boeing 727-100 aircraft, referred to as the Lolita Express, more on that later, and general assistant who sometimes took part in the depraved activities, allegedly. One victim testified that Epstein told her that he had bought Marcinko from her parents in Czechoslovakia in the 1990s. If anyone else said something like that, it would sound far-fetched. But this was Jeffrey Epstein. Jean-Luc Brunel was an evil little man who was investigated by Diane Sawyer in 60 Minutes over wide-ranging allegations that he used to routinely drug and rape women in the Paris.
He bartered a whole lot of underage kids for those billions he received. Well, I mean, that's kind of what it seems like, right? I mean, it's just, I don't want to make, like, how should I put this? I don't want to make, like, extraordinary claims out here, but, like, there really is a lot missing in the Epstein story. And to be honest, if you add someone like Trump, it does start to make a lot more sense. You know, Mar-a-Lago gets mentioned thousands of times, and so does Trump's name. And I don't want to be like, I want to be fair. But how do you look at this and be like, oh yeah, they're being fair?
Modeling world in the 1980s and 90s, but again, no charges were ever brought. Probably no surprise.
My opinion, correction. Oh no, you're all right. I mean, to be honest, that's kind of, I think we're all pretty much in agreement that a lot of his money was suspect. So, I mean, that's also kind of the feeling I have, but well, he's dead, so I guess I can be a little.
With Virginia Giuffre accusing Brunel of having sexually trafficked girls for Epstein for years. Brunel put out a statement saying, "I strongly deny having committed any illicit acts or any wrongdoing in the course of my work as a scouter or model agency's manager." End quote. The fact that flight logs suggest he made no fewer than 25 trips aboard Epstein's plane might suggest otherwise. Allegedly. He was finally arrested in 2020 and charged with sexual offenses, but he hanged himself.
And he was a coward and hung himself. But who knows, that might have been the Epstein special he got, so. How can anyone be a Democrat? You think men are women? Oh, geez. Can't slander a corpse. That's true. Divine, how can you just so easily brush past the 1,000+ victims of the Epstein case so you can just talk about your favorite talking point? I mean, I think that's sad. I honestly thought he had inheritance until people don't know how he got. Yeah, like it's I was kind of under the same impression, but no, the story about Jeffrey Epstein is a story about falling up. It's so weird how this man came to be. He was groomed by huge business execs at a very young age. It's a weird story, dude. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, like I said, especially with a lot of the pieces missing.
Off in his cell in 2022.
All right, Divine, when you want to talk about the relevant thing on screen, let me know. Okay? We have had so many immigration debates that I think people are getting tired of it.
According to one report in the files, on Epstein's birthday, 12...
Not groomed in that sense? Well, yes, not groomed in that sense. Yeah.
12-year-old triplets were flown over from France for his pleasure. It's not clear whether Brunel was the giftee, but the sheer number of horrid stories involving this man means his suicide was, widely welcomed, let's say. Darren Endike was Epstein's lawyer.
Nah, that's the thing. I don't want these people to die. I want them to rot in fucking prison. I know, he called me an idiot. It's over. It's over! Slam the button! Man the stations! This kid has been indoctrinated by the left! Dude, are we even, like, is my coverage right? Anyways, you're meme-holing me, and I'm not gonna let it happen.
Little in terms of direct links with the most sordid behavior, he has been sued for aiding, abetting, and facilitating Epstein's sex trafficking operation by helping him build a massively successful company. He also received a nice $50 million in Epstein's will, the largest of any beneficiary. Probably says a lot, doesn't it? Allegedly. Richard Kahn was the accountant who kept the insidious...
At least he didn't call me the L word. The evil L word that gets you banned from MAGA Discord servers.
Operation ticking over and no...
God, I still see that, dude. I still see Euro and Travel on my timeline. I should probably... how do I even get unbanned from a Discord? You know what I mean? How does that happen?
Sheltered it from prying eyes. Epstein liked to pay with cash as much as possible for obvious reasons, and Kahn was the man to ensure that there was always plenty of dirty Benjamins at hand. Both Kahn and Indike have been subpoenaed for more information on Epstein as of February 2026, and things might not work out so well for them depending...
Liberal? No, that's the base L word. He's talking about the dreaded... Look both ways so nobody... Loser. Alright, don't tell anybody I said that. It's a thought crime.
Depending on how far the FBI want to go. These were the leading players, but below that was an ecosystem where people had to know what was going on.
Yeah, this is what I'm interested in. The ecosystem that formed around Jeffrey Epstein. Like, I feel there are a lot of people we're not going after. I mean, it's obvious, right? It's obvious.
Drivers transported girls between properties, airports, and residences. Some testified that they didn't realize ages or purposes, while others acknowledged that they had an inkling but never knew the full scope. And then you've got to think about housekeepers, cleaners, guards, and probably many more that we didn't even think about. This wasn't just one evil man operating in the shadows. This was a fully functioning operation with a wide array of characters with clearly defined roles. Of all that's been said about Epstein, his island of horror, and the maniacal system that kept it all running, we've never heard anything about murder. That is until the most recent file drop.
Yep.
Now, we need to tread very carefully here. All of this is completely unverified at this point. All of this is very alleged.
Yeah, right? Right. Yeah, excuse me. Right, famous? Oh, I guess Epstein was just a really cool dude. Everyone wanted to just give him money. Dude, straight up, if you look into the history of Jeffrey Epstein, you will find that he failed at his first job, right? He sucked at it. He was horrible at it. But he was banging... I may get some of this wrong. Still very opaque. But he was banging an underage girl, even back then. He was like 20 and she was like 16 or something. And her father gave him a position at one of the highest, most esteemed investment groups. It's an insane fucking story, dude.
A redacted source had been made that a young girl was sadistically tortured and ultimately murdered on Epstein Island. At this stage, there's nothing else to go on, but survivors have reported being told that people who caused problems disappeared on the island. It was made perfectly clear to them that they were far from formal jurisdiction and that island law was administered by those who had brought them there. Conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein Island have run wild since the name came to light in 2019. Everything from secret graves on the island, rooms built specifically for torture and ultimately execution.
Okay, but what is the temple, by the way? Has anybody figured that out? Like, what is Epstein Island's temple even for? It's just something that he thought looked cool? I could see that.
Numerous missing people linked to Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly. The official police narrative is that none of that was found on the island, but at this point, there are plenty of people who don't believe the official narrative. Was a young girl really tortured and killed on the island? Skeptics will tell you it's unlikely and there's no hard evidence, but those are probably the same people who told you back in 2019 that a secret island where the rich and famous could come to have sex with underage girls was conspiracy theory waffle. Not all of Epstein's horrors took place on the ground. In 2001, as with many people with more money than they know what to do with, Jeffrey Epstein purchased an aircraft, a Boeing 727-100 to be exact. The aircraft had minor modifications, including a forward salon with a home theater, a
The
mid-cabin
Lolita
lounge,
Express,
private
ladies and
stateroom
gentlemen.
equipped with a queen-size bed and an ensuite lavatory. And this is where the story of this particular Boeing 727-100 deviates quite dramatically from others. It eventually got the nickname the Lolita Express because it had a tendency to arrive with a gaggle of worryingly young-looking women. Flight logs entered into evidence showed the aircraft was
So you
used
do, man,
frequently,
about the
with trips
torture
between
room?
New York, Florida, New Mexico,
Let me
the
read
US
that
Virgin
real
Islands,
quick.
and international destinations. Epstein personally logged 600 hours on board the aircraft a year, often with guests on board. But the thing is,
No way. That was on the wall? Whoa, that is insane, Bill. Let me see if I can bring it up. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? So, was this was one of the heads in the torture room. It looks like a younger Lutnick. But definitely a Lutnick-esque. God, imagine having a name of Lutnick. I never knew he had private graves. They need to go and dig them graves up and determine the age of the bodies that are in there. Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't have a red room. Yeah, I mean, so the idea of like these dark web red rooms, I don't think they were ever, I mean, I know there were a few, but this is like what the actual red rooms are. These rich individuals that can pay exorbitant amounts to have stuff done to women and girls. So disgusting, dude. Hey, what's up, Soros? How you doing?
this wasn't used simply to get from A to B. Numerous testimonies and new information from the Epstein files have talked about sex parties with minors on board the aircraft organized by Epstein's fixer-in-chief, Ghislaine Maxwell, and all of the flight logs are publicly available. Usually,
this picture is cursed as fuck. Dark red rooms are not feasible over the dark web due to slow speeds. Yeah, that's kind of, when they were making the rounds back in the day, that's what I thought. Although when I was like 16 and listening to creepypastas, I was convinced of that shit. Convinced. But once I actually got on the dark web and realized it was mostly just drugs and fake credit cards, I dipped.
it includes specific names, but scan through carefully and you'll notice
Can the U.S. dig the graves? Okay, hold on. That makes it sound like I was there for the red rooms. I was not there for the red rooms. I was there because I wanted to know. I was a young 19-year-old looking for marijuana, and I did not know how to talk to people, okay? So don't blame me. Blame the system. Can the U.S. dig those graves or use ground-penetrating radar? I feel like they should have jurisdiction over the island. Like, these are the things that are breaking trust in our FBI, you know?
2 women. Some big names jump out at you. Bill Clinton reportedly flew on the aircraft 27 times. Naomi Campbell, Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, and while the name Donald Trump doesn't appear in the logs, several have stated that he flew on the Lolita Express more than once. Epstein once told author Michael Wolff that Trump had first consummated his new relationship with Melania while on board the plane. Pilots Larry...
And I didn't find any marijuana and never ever smoked it again within the state of Kansas. Amen. I never ever did. It's very, very illegal. No, it's not very illegal anymore. They just, nowadays, like back in the day, you would get a pretty hefty sentence for being caught with marijuana. Nowadays, it's just hey man, don't smoke outside and don't smoke in front of people. It may take your weed away. That's it. They're a lot more chill about it now, which is pretty surprising. I saw a poll somewhere where it's like 70% of Kansas supports legalizing marijuana. I talked to a lot of farmers and they feel like they're missing out on a huge market, dude. They feel like they are major missing out on a huge market. Especially with the tariffs. This is a good that is made here in America. And doesn't need to be shipped all over across the world. It can't be shipped all over across the world. I think it'll be... I think Kansas is actually doing more of a... it's turning purple. And I see signs of it like every day.
Sosky
Proud of my
and
state.
David Rogers appear repeatedly in records as regular crew members, and both
And that's big of me to say because I used to hate this fucking state. But, you know, the more you learn about the world and the more you interact with people, you come to find out that the people here are actually pretty cool. And they're just trying to live their American dream.
both testified in legal proceedings. They described flying Epstein and his guests for
The
years.
2021 Farm Omnibus bill made weed pseudo-legal? I'd be interested to look into that.
With Vyssotsky acknowledging seeing young girls on flights, though he said,
Because I know the Farm Bill had allowed hemp. It allowed you to extract THC from hemp. But I know, at least in my county, they banned that stuff, which is bullshit. But, oh well.
he did not know their ages or
Excuse me.
circumstances. The Lolita Express became a key part of the large case against Epstein and Maxwell. If you want to traffic people, one of the biggest issues is transportation. Airports ask for passports and eventually begin to put two and two together. But when you've got your own private plane, you simply
Yeah, it made CBC and THC allowed. Well, it can only be derived from hemp, though. It cannot be derived from normal marijuana. Wait, you can overwrite federal law? Yes, you can. You sure can. Well, the good old people of Colorado are doing a study on shrooms and found that LSD may have positive effects. Yeah, I think that we need to do way more research into psychoactive stuff like that. And with the shrooms, I've heard some amazing stories of people with PTSD recovering from it. Delta 8, as it's called? Yeah, it's called the old Delta 8. Back when I didn't have a plug, that was my best friend.
on the runway of a remote
Not that I have a plug for any of that, that I would ever.
airfield and step aboard. No TSA, no passports, no questions. Jeffrey Epstein owned numerous properties across the world, but none became as notorious as Little St. James, the island that he purchased in the 1990s. The island is small, roughly 70 to 78 acres, and is part of the United States Virgin Islands. It has a main house, 3 guest cottages, a caretaker cottage, a private desalination system, a helipad, and a dock, but Epstein was constantly upgrading.
Shrooms just make me want to sell all my shit and become a hermit. Well, hey, that is a side effect of them. I can't really do too many psychoactive substance like that anymore because I take antidepressants, but back in the day, it really helped. Mushrooms and ayahuasca seem like they should be heavily regulated. Banning it does more harm. People can lose their mind on the wrong stuff. Yeah. I mean, that's just the general issue with having drugs be classified the way they are to begin with.
The most recent photos from the island show what can only be described as a bizarre temple with a classic synagogue design. Did Epstein find God amidst rampant...
Have I tried K2? No. I only smoke the natural I only smoke the natural. But I know some people that got addicted to it.
Who knows, but I'm going to guess the answer's no. In 2008, Epstein's estate on Little St. James had 70 staff who all had to sign non-disclosure agreements, and now we know why. Little St. James, also referred to as Epstein Island, Orgy Islands, P-Word Island, the Isle of Babes, and perhaps most appropriately, the Island of Sin, was the setting of events that still haven't fully come to light. But the Epstein files have given us a glimpse. There are reported mentions of underage orgies, with one very surprising name connected in one document, Stephen Hawking. Yes, the...
Well, Timmy, what I will tell you is that oh, no, my bad. My bad. I take antidepressants. I feel material reality makes it weird not to have depression. That's a sign of intelligence. Fun fact. Depression is a sign of intelligence, so that's all I'm saying.
With ALS.
I think we're throwing fluoride in our water. Fuck, it's like, just throw Prozac in there too. I mean, honestly, fuck, might as well. Put a little Lexapro in there. That's what I take. Good old Lexapro. Max. Or XR out here.
We always talk through a robotic voice generator. There was an email where Epstein appeals to a friend, Virginia Giuffre, to disprove allegations of Giuffre's that Hawking had been involved in an orgy. To be clear, Giuffre never accused Hawking of anything, but his inclusion is without a doubt the weirdest name in the Epstein files. Testimony from people working at the control tower at the Thomas Airfield, where the Lolita Express would arrive, claimed that girls, who often looked 16 or under, were coming and going from the island. They were often wearing baggy college sweaters and carrying designer shopping bags. Several victims stated that they were flown to the island aboard his plane, sometimes without clear information about where they were going, for how long, or who would be present. Once there, they described being surrounded by staff, guests, and guards with no independent means of leaving. Search warrants executed in 2019 recovered electronic devices, documents, and other materials from the islands, along with some...
Well, I think I'll be on fucking Lexapro for the next 10 years at least. Which I'm okay with. I am fine with it. I would not, I would probably be going crazy in the streets right now with my depression if I didn't have it, so...
Bizarre stuff. Creepy masks, a dentist's chair, ghoulish art, often with half-naked girls in, a blackboard that had the words power and deception written on it, stuffed animals, and a room with firefighter gear and police uniforms, which I'm guessing weren't used for health and safety training days. And there were also sex toys. Lots and lots of sex toys, sometimes neatly stored in a cupboard alongside large bottles of lube, but on one occasion simply left out on the living room table. Creepy.
Divine baby oil bottle.
And yet, there's another aspect of the house that sends chills down the spine, and that's the framed photographs on the walls, on desks, littered around the house. In the images, the faces have been redacted, which means these are almost certainly photographs of his victims that he chose to decorate his home with. Even away from the island, images from Epstein's other properties leave you with that taste in the mouth that...
What the hell is this? What? Holy shit, the Patriot Act was introduced on 23rd October 2001, passed the House, 24th passed Senate on the 25th.
Feeling that tells you bad things are almost certainly going to have occurred here. And that is no more apparent than in his townhouse in Manhattan, where guests were greeted by a statue in a wedding dress hung from a noose.
Speaking of the Patriot Act, save this short for later. What's going on with the Patriot Act? I see you guys talking about it. Is there any news popping up about it? I mean, guys, I already kind of live like I don't have any privacy, to be quite frank.
If you watch this year's Super...
Like, I already kind of live like that. So I'm not too afraid of the surveillance state, but I know a lot of other people are. So I think we're already in it. I think Palantir knows everything about you, and what your favorite color is. Oh, laws passed overnight. Okay, my bad. My bad.
Tied to the ceiling. And to top it all off, it appeared that Jeffrey Epstein had the kind of interior design taste that screams, I've got money and absolutely no clue. Bizarre sandstone statues, peculiar face sculptures on walls, and plastic legs protruding in the bathroom. But then...
Dude, his taste is weird as fuck. Transgender surgeries.
If you were going to guess how the international head of a P-word ring might decorate his home, it would probably be something like this. Financing an international sex trafficking organization.
I think the fact we can all assume they listening affects discourse. Well, here's the thing. I do think they are, like, they're not keeping, you know, you don't have a specific agent assigned to you, but, you know, these, like, YouTube sells your data. Everybody sells our data and creates profiles. I guess the idea that they're always listening, I don't agree with that. But we already kind of live in a surveillance state, you know? The Magatards have been going wild over the House passing the TG Act.
On this scale was always going to be a bit...
Yeah,
thankfully,
I haven't really looked into that much.
Epstein had Richard Kahn, who we met earlier. In 2023, JP Morgan, with which Epstein banked between 1998 and 2013, agreed to an astonishing $290 million settlement with his abuse victims after it was made clear that the bank turned a blind eye to internal memos that raised significant red flags about Epstein and what he was up to. I'm not going to say that JP Morgan chose not to cut ties with a valuable customer, even though he was in the sex trafficking industry, but if you're willing to hand over nearly $300 million, it does reek of accountability. Or perhaps lack thereof, allegedly, in my opinion. And there's more. A year after Epstein's death, Deutsche Bank reached a $150 million settlement with New York regulators.
It's a bill that was passed in December last year. Okay. I feel like I know. Oh, was this the one to, like, declare that men are men and women are women? Was this, or was it the one that's like... It bans children from getting gender... I don't even know. I remember... Wasn't MTG big about it? Raising the age for gender reassignment. Yep. Alright, now I remember. Well, these, you know, if it's... I remember it was pretty... Like, it was just the surgeries, right? Oh, no, it did affect hormone therapy, too. Yeah, that's a nasty bill. That's a nasty little fucking bill right there.
While also shelling out $75 million to settle lawsuits. And in the US, Bank of America is the largest bank to come under fire, with one victim, with her identity protected, saying, rather than merely providing routine banking services to Epstein, Bank of America went far beyond what a non-complicit bank would have done and instead assisted Epstein in setting up the necessary financial structure to operate his sex trafficking venture. And that is a quote from someone else that we are just repeating. Not our opinion. So, which suspicious payments raised flags but were ignored then? Well, the investigation into Epstein's finances is complicated and murky, and it'll probably be several years before a clear picture emerges. However, recent releases have highlighted the widespread use of hush money to silence victims. The payments were often disguised as university scholarships, even when the girl in question was still several years from university age, or they were modeling contracts that were sometimes connected with Jean-Luc Brunel.
Whoa, okay. Hey, more of a picture starting to be painted here, folks.
This was essentially what Jeffrey Epstein...
But it's still opaque. That's what pisses me off.
Victim caused a fuss. It was quick, simple, and for years it shielded him from prosecution. One email from the latest...
I didn't care what to think about the age thing because it impacted medicinal drugs. So I think raising the age of gender reassignment surgery is fine. Number one, because nobody is doing... You know, nobody's getting surgery. But I do think the banning of hormone replacement therapy in certain aspects is a bit of it's a huge step back. What am I saying? You know, it's a huge step back, honestly. And my heart breaks for transgender boys and girls that are now going to have to live who they don't want to be and who they don't feel like for a longer amount of time, because our Congress is afraid of trans in women's bathrooms or trans in sports. Bigots, dude. Just complete bigots.
An insight into Epstein's shady business dealings away from his personal massages. In it, he discusses with an unknown associate the possibility of trying to gain access to Libya's frozen state funds, including plans to help from former British and Israeli intelligence figures. The message, dated July 2011, was sent months after a NATO-backed revolt began.
Really, it's just going to force people to lie to doctors for a hormone treatment for another reason? I mean, maybe. I don't know if a doctor would be able... Doctors are some smart cats. They might be able to sniff that one out, but who knows? But I think, you know... I think if it's not permanent, like a lot of these hormone replacement therapies are, then I think it's fine. And I don't know why the government is so obsessed with it. You'd think this was happening to 1 in every fucking 5 kids. But it's even less than that. It's 1 in every like 270 kids. It's insane. And I think, much like most medical things, it should be handled between a doctor, the kid, and their parent. Why is the state getting involved? Like, that is one of my biggest things. Like, why are you getting involved, you know? Didn't Walsh say it affects millions of children and the fact-checking said like 200? I do remember a clip like that. They just want to fearmonger, dude. It's such pathetic bullshit. Like, this is how you can tell the right just does not have good policy. Because they need to fearmonger. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling.
Against Libya's longtime leader, Muammar Gaddafi, who was later killed by rebel forces in October that year. In the email, the sender claimed that roughly $80 billion in Libyan assets were frozen worldwide, with about $32.4 billion held in the United States alone. But it was believed that the total amount, plus misappropriations and stolen Libyan assets, might amount to 3 to 4 times that. The sender said, quoting, "If we can locate or recover even 5 to 10% of these funds and secure a fee of 10 to 25%, the numbers quickly reach into the billions." End quote. Whether this actually happens, we've got no idea, but it just adds another intriguing layer to the Epstein story. He wasn't just a sex offender, he wasn't just the head of a P-word ring, he was involved with deals at the highest levels across the world and in a number of industries. So how do you run an organization like this for so long and basically get away?
Conservatives love government controlling everything except education and their pew-pews. Yeah. Yep. Amen, dude. I hate the government, except for when I actually need it. But I personally can't understand why gay isn't enough. What do you mean? Like, why someone... Well, sometimes people don't feel like a guy, you know? Sometimes people feel like a girl. And so, it's not necessarily about homosexuality, because they could very well like women. They could be a lesbian. They could be... You know, it's much more about your identity and who you are. Why do gay men have to go the extra mile? What do you mean? I'm a bisexual man and I don't feel like I have to you know, I love my trans brothers and sisters and everything in between.
With it all. Well, one of the most consistent details across the Epstein files is the language used to disguise abuse. Again and again, victims describe being told they were being hired to give a massage with absolutely no other pretense to go along with it. For underage girls, many of whom had never had formal jobs, the idea of
That's another good point, Bill. Like, I don't, you know, some people, you know, you don't have to quite understand it to know that banning it is a bad idea. Like, I don't understand nuclear fusion. But I am God, that's kind of a lie, because I do kind of understand how nuclear fusion works. IDK, gay men never behaved like this? Like what? I don't know. Wait, what are you talking about? I've always thought, that our fights have been almost intertwined.
Paid for a massage did not immediately register as a warning sign. Many young girls went along to one of these properties, genuinely believing that all they needed to do was rub a man's shoulders for an hour and that would be it. I know it sounds painfully naive, but let's be honest. We've all been young, and we've all believed things that in hindsight we really probably shouldn't have. According to testimony, the setup followed a familiar pattern. A girl would be instructed to go to a private residence, sometimes alone or with others. She would be shown to a room, given minimal guidance, and told to begin. According to multiple accounts, what happened?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but this is kind of like... So, I'm bisexual, right? And there's a certain sect in the LGBT that says that bisexual men aren't valid, you know? You have to live within the binary. Now, that's obviously bullshit. So that's kind of what I equate that to. It doesn't represent the larger movement. And I don't know why gay men would be upset with trans men.
Next involved progressive boundary violations rather than sudden force. He wouldn't immediately jump on girls. Instead, each step...
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Soros, I do think it is important to remember that, you know, if they're a grown adult, it doesn't really matter who they choose to identify as. It's their decision, you know? I want to be in such a free world where I can choose to be anything I want. I want to live in a world where we're Minecraft, where we're fucking Steve on creative mode with a bunch of mods. So, you know, this is just like child's play to me. It's like, oh, this is, you know. I don't think the trans is drawing negative attention. And if they're if they're young children, probably around the age of 10, and they want to dress up as a girl, is that okay? No fucking hormones involved. They just want to dress up as a girl. Is that okay?
Tested whether the girl would object, leave, or comply. Money was handed over.
This is probably not the best video to be playing. The only thing I don't get is adults identifying as children. That's mental illness. That is causing that would cause a harm to society. Yeah. Yeah, I know, Bill. I wish people understood, but they just don't. But it's okay. It's okay. We can hope that they will.
Over at the end, often without discussion, at higher payments.
It was so disgusting what they did to the Stonewall Memorial. I can't get started on it.
When certain boundaries have been crossed, and that's one of the most disturbing parts. of this whole story, because once you've handed over cash to a minor who has just had sex with an adult, it creates this awful sense of complicity. The cover story also helped insulate others. Drivers, staff, and visitors could plausibly claim they believed girls were present for legitimate services, which
It's all about
sounds
optics with the
absolutely
gay
absurd,
faction.
but that's actually how it works.
I don't think so. I think most people in the LGBT are just like you and me, dog. You know, we just care about our we just care about our community and want to make sure everything's good. I have not seen any gay people besides like a charlatan on TikTok. But like I've seen these people and talked to them on Discord. Yeah, I've talked to people on Discord that are horribly homophobic, you know. There's a lot of people. Discord is a platform that needs something. There's way too much gross shit happening on there. Gay conservatives? Oh yeah, well okay. Hold on. Because if they're like saying that, okay, there's two ways you can be in the LGBT for most people. So just being like gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, that, you know, you can have that umbrella of being in the LGBT technically, but the LGBT as a movement does not exist in the Republican Party. That is a squarely Democratic Party movement. So I think we may be getting terms mixed up. Yes, gay conservatives exist, but there is no gay conservative that's a member of the LGBT.
The word massage created just enough distance to dull suspicion without inviting question.
Anyways, let's talk about an actual dude who did horrible things to children.
Once girls left the room, they were typically met by Maxwell or one of the other assistants, who would often throw a loving arm around them, ask them whether they were okay, and whether they wanted to do that again. Some said yes, some said no. For those who came back repeatedly, they were often asked to find other girls for money, a self-fulfilling, perverted catch-22, where Epstein and his accomplices had a steady stream of new girls arriving at his properties. Most people who have been associated with Epstein...
Yeah, that's why the right hates the community, because it's not on the right. Like, the movement's not gonna get fooled by what Trump is saying. You know, he could wave that flag. Remember in his first term when he was waving the flag? He was like, oh, I'm gonna protect everybody. Yeah. Turns out that didn't last long.
...have managed to weasel their way out through the mud, at least for now. But for two men in the United Kingdom, rock bottom is a term that requires reassessment each time a new cache of materials hits the newsstands. The first is a man you'll all know, the disgrace of the British monarchy, brother to King Charles, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew. As of early 2026, there hasn't been a public figure who has been savaged.
Used to a degree, McCain and Goldwater were pro. Gay later one job. Bush had lots of openly gay high-ranking member employees. Far cry from DeSantis and DSG. Yeah, this second term is just a fucking nightmare for the LGBT. But that's all right. We will get out of this and we'll be even stronger. Much like the nation, you know. I think we would be in a better position altogether if Kamala won, but I do think that America is starting to get pissed at what they're seeing.
...by the Epstein files, quite like Andrew.
I don't know how we're going to make it out of this. Oh, don't lose hope, Timmy. I mean, Trump is showing signs of weakness already. He authored a bill with Senator Schumer that would greatly restrict ICE's abilities, that there's currently a government shutdown about. He's just looking weak. just, I don't know how else to say it. How many allies are we going to make enemies by the end? I think Europe will stick with us because they themselves went through a fascistic episode in their history. So I think they will. I think they understand. But allies like Colombia, allies like the Kurds, there's a lot of people we're leaving behind.
Rewind to 2010.
And Europe is good. They're going to be holding us at an arm's length for a really long time. It's going to take like a decade to recover what Trump will do.
And his life was going swimmingly. But in 2011, Virginia Giuffre alleged that Epstein had forced her to have sex with the prince. And while these allegations never really got out into the public, it was only a matter of time. In 2015, the metaphorical royal shit hit the fan when her testimony was included in US federal court filings, and in 2019, when the name Epstein reared its ugly head, the focus fell heavily on Andrew. Andrew then decided that the best course of action was to give an interview on BBC Newsnight, which backfired intensely. From there, it's been a steady sinking ship. In 2022, he settled a lawsuit brought by Giuffre out of court, which, let's face it, it's never a good look. Prince Andrew then became, well, just Mr. Andrew, after his royal title was stripped, and he's even been forced to move into a humble abode known as Marsh Farm. And then came the last...
You know what happened to George Lincoln Rockwell?
Files and images of Andrew kneeling on all fours over a woman on the ground. He's dressed in a t-shirt and jogging bottoms. It doesn't look like he's there in an official capacity. Emails have also emerged showing that he handed over documents to Epstein that he was using as a trade envoy to Asian countries, including one about investment opportunities in the reconstruction of Helmand province in Afghanistan. Could it get any worse for the royal prince? Well, maybe. If the British government and monarchy force him to testify in the US, things could get oh so very bad indeed. Next up is Peter Mandelson. Now that name almost certainly isn't as well known.
I can't say anything about Mr. George Lincoln Rockwell that wouldn't be against terms of service. So, no, George Lincoln Rockwell, was a piece of shit. That's all I'm gonna say. That's it.
But this scandal has exploded in the UK in recent weeks after email correspondence between him and Epstein came to light. And just a quick background about Mandelson: long-term politician who really reached his peak under Tony Blair, who disappeared for a while, and now we know where, before coming back and taking the role as British ambassador to the US. His name has long been linked to Epstein, largely because he acknowledged that Epstein loaned him some money in 2008. However, over the past few months, a steady drip of information has tarnished his name, culminating in what appears to be Mandelson passing government information to Epstein regarding a range of issues. Mandelson also helped an investment banker friend of Epstein to secure a deal with the UK
was
government,
pen pal with
which
Karl
again,
Marx.
not a brilliant look. Mandelson is sliding downhill and gathering speed. The police are investigating, and he has been exiled from the Labour Party. He might not be the #1 national disgrace just yet, but he is catching up. Now, years before anybody was really talking about Jeffrey Epstein, the courts had an opportunity to send him down for a considerable amount of time and really f*** it up. In 2006, Epstein was arrested in Florida in connection with 36 acts of sex with minors, some as young as 14. At this point, the investigation had been ongoing for nearly 2 years, during which the Palm Beach police and the FBI uncovered a massive amount of information. The number of minors connected eventually climbed above 50, with one report suggesting that Epstein would have 3 massages a day and the girls would be paid between $300 and $600 for their services. In the prosecution world, this was pretty much a slam dunk case. But it wasn't. Firstly, we need to point out why the FBI got involved in the first place, because the Palm Beach police believed the Palm Beach prosecution service was strangely reluctant to pursue Epstein. We have no idea why, but I bet a few of you can guess. Even after the FBI stepped in, it seemed like Epstein was looking at a long stretch of time in jail. And you know what happens to P-words in prison. But that's not what actually happened. Somehow, the vast majority of the cases were virtually dismissed after a plea deal was reached between Epstein and the Southern District of Florida that also halted the federal investigation and shielded potential co-conspirators. Epstein pled guilty to 1 count of felony solicitation of prostitution.
By the way, if
one
you guys aren't enjoying the stream, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel and gets me boosted out there in the algorithm.
count of
Anyways,
procuring a person under 18 for prostitution and served a cozy 18 months with plenty of work release thrown in. This meant he, quite astonishingly, was allowed to leave jail for 12 hours per day to work from his office. And they say that rich people get special treatment in prison. What a lie. Alexander Acosta, the then US attorney for the Southern District of Florida, reportedly said that he gave Epstein a lenient plea deal because he was informed that the sex was intelligence and advised to back off. As if all of that wasn't stomach-turning enough, recent documents released shed light on Epstein's brazen efforts to clean his 2008 conviction from the public sphere as much as possible. The man involved, according to email correspondence, was Al Seckel, a writer and apparently part-time SEO expert whom Epstein paid tens of thousands of dollars to downrank.
you know, I think fascism can happen really anywhere, man. It doesn't matter if it's capitalistic, communistic. It can happen anywhere. I think capitalism is fine if you'd put regulations on it and we actually enforce our laws. That's not happening. In fact, we're seeing something even more egregious, which is the not really. No, communism is just as vulnerable to authoritarian takeover. I think Russia is having an internet outage. I think so too, actually. Seems like it. Well, Ukraine has recently taken back land. Shout out. By the way, guys, if you didn't know, shout out to you guys. We were able to raise over 10,000 euros for the people of Ukraine to get things like... Sorry, I'm fighting this fucking skeleton. Let me kick its ass. To get things like warm blankets. Authoritarian and fascism are two different things. I mean, yeah, they're different things, but at the end of the day, they both have the through line of an executive taking more and more power. So I think they're pretty apt, and I wouldn't want to live under an authoritarian or fascist regime. And guys, our system has been working. It's just recently these idiots have taken advantage of it. We saw this with crony capitalism back in the day. This isn't necessarily a new phenomenon. And we can fight it. We can fight it.
Stories about his conviction and remove toxic suggested search engine terms.
I disagree. Fascism is not a natural course. Completely disagree.
Said he had successfully hacked Wikipedia to remove mugshots and pushed any mention of the...
Am I wrong in thinking fascism is a type of authoritarianism? I think you're correct. No, crony capitalism is capitalism that does not have regulation. You're living in a world where there is barely any economic regulation for the companies and markets, so they are allowed to conglomerate and grow bigger. Everybody would be living a great life if there were 10 Walmarts, 10 different companies of Walmarts, and 20 different Amazons. But that's not the world we live in.
Fiction to the bottom of the page. Hacking Wikipedia, anyone?
Yes, I have heard that autism is a form of fascism, actually.
Can edit Wikipedia. After a somewhat cryptic message after Epstein complained about the cost of the job, he said bluntly, "You have a dedicated group of people trying to undo and damage you." And there's more on this. According to a
Hey gang, we like democracy out here, you know what I'm saying? We be fucking with that democracy heavy. Capitalism will always consolidate. No, companies will always consolidate, and it's up to the government to control them and make sure they don't consolidate and break them up when they've gotten too big. It's not, I'm not reinventing the wheel out here. At least I don't think I am. Whoa. Careful. Whoa. You're fool, guys. That is frustrating. Oh, I failed to cast the spell? Come on, this roll will work. Alright, let's go, you son of a bitch. You wanna hit me? Get wrecked. Repeal food safety regulations. I want my food enriched with botulism the way God intended. Amen. What's up, Sans? Good to see you. I just don't believe you can have a democracy with capitalism. What have you been living in? What are you living in right now? What were our parents living in? What about their parents, you know? Like, we are seeing examples. What you're seeing right now is when you don't put regulations on anything and you just, Not me. You seem to confuse leftists accepting SOCDEM better than moderate. Not democracy. Not democracy. It is a democracy. America isn't as democratic as most developed nations. Yeah, right now. But that's because we're sliding into something. We're sliding into authoritarian fascistic regime. Public opinion has zero effect on bills being passed. Okay, so number one, how can that be true? What if we literally saw an example of it with the Jeffrey Epstein Transparency Act? You don't think there was public pressure behind that? You don't think public pressure is what got that to come onto the floor?
heavily
Some dumb beats. I do think... No, we had zero poll before Trump. No, we didn't. Hold on, what? Wait, maybe we're talking about something else. But
redacted
anyways.
from an FBI.
No, I think we just need to put better regulations on. We don't need to drastically reform the system. 70% of people wanted universal health care, but never get on the floor. Well, that's because the Republicans refuse, we are a two-party system. Most Democrats want at least a public option. However, no Republican wants even a public option. So you're hitting on a very important thing that I speak on. We need to elect better people who are actually going to represent the people. And the only way we're going to do that is getting rid of things like gerrymandering. Regulations that will never pass because the rich people don't want them. Well, that's why you elect people who don't work for the rich people. Like the Democrats. I'll show you again. I'll show you again real quick. If you have an issue, Obama had a supermajority, and he passed the ACA. Sumdum, how old are you, man? You don't have to, just give me an age range, because the ACA has been revolutionary for young people like me who have had no idea how to navigate the marketplace until just very recently. You think Dems? No! Dems, tell me an example of how Dems work for rich people. Give me an example. You're ahead here, but every democratic system is a representative democracy where you only have little control over the democracy in your daily life. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of that's how I feel it's supposed to be. And I didn't think, I didn't think Obama had a supermajority. ACA was just Romney Care to keep private insurance alive. Listen, man, the ACA was revolutionary. For the first time in history, you could not be discriminated against because of a pre-existing condition. I'm sorry, but if you think that's nothing, then you need to look at the history of what insurance was like before the ACA came along.
My informant, Jeffrey Epstein also hired an elite-level hacker from southern Italy who developed and marketed zero-day software exploits, which essentially meant software that could sneak into widely used systems, allegedly. There's a lot that remains complete.
Like, guys, we're not going to have universal healthcare overnight. You need to build the institution first. You need to start building Medicare up first. It's not going to happen overnight. ACA was a hand job to the private insurance to keep private sector alive. So you think that we could have passed universal health care while Obama was president, huh? Is that what you actually think? We should have nationalized them. Okay, well, that's illegal. We can't just seize private property like that. Other countries did it. Well, in this country, we respect your freedom and fucking liberty, dude. And you can't just take something from a private citizen. Every other okay, so Sumdum, if there are people jumping off a cliff, if all of your friends are jumping off a cliff, are you going to jump off a cliff? Everybody else is doing it. Nationalizing is not actually illegal? Well, I don't know. It does sound like very... This is why libs are suckers. No, this is why we're realistic. You're not realistic, dude. You think things can just happen overnight, and they don't. It takes time, bro. You gotta work this shit out. There's another side we have to deal with. They're assholes, and they are liars and cheaters far more than the Democrats. So, I'm sorry, dude. And also, like, why the fuck are you so upset when why are you focused on this when we have a literal fascist in the White House, bro? Like, we can pick, we can nitpick about fucking this shit later. Like, we need to be focusing on the dude in the White House. This is why I don't focus on lefties. I think you're valuable members to our party in a lot of aspects. I think it's good to have somebody pushing the goalpost and keeping our leaders on our toes. You don't see that in the Republican Party, and it's why they're going to fail. But we can't be angry at each other, man. At the end of the day, we both know that Donald Trump is far worse Hassan or Vance? Probably Hassan. Yeah, most definitely Hassan. You kidding? Vance is a fucking demon. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. You know, but I really am not like I don't focus on lefties. I don't, because I think they are a valuable member to our party. A lot of people don't want to say that, but I believe in a big coalition and I practice that belief. And so, I hope I didn't upset you too much, Sumdum, because I do think you're a valuable member of the coalition. And I don't like fighting with our leftmost brethren. Because, I get it. I was in that, back in the day, I was there too. We can't hate each other, then call Vance a demon. Well, I'm talking about libs and lefties. However, wait, really choosing between Hassan? Okay, well, so Soros, there is a meme hole that Hutch has gone down recently where he's become deranged. That's the only way I can say it. Hassan derangement syndrome. And I hate to say that because I really respect Hutch, but what else am I supposed to call it when all you can do is focus on leftist, Like, Sumdum and me, we probably, Soros is a reference to YouTuber streamer. Oh, okay, my bad. We probably have about as many disagreements as Hutch and Hassan. But I think Sumdum here is very valuable to our party. They have a vision that is so beautiful. Free healthcare for everybody. And I want that too. However, I know that there are more going-ons inside of the Senate and inside of Congress itself. So I know that it's not that easy. But they're constantly pushing the goalposts, or not goalposts, they're constantly pushing the envelope. And, sometimes as libs, we can get a little complacent. But, and just like I think the moderates are just as valuable. Like, everybody has a place in the coalition. Or I guess a better word, everybody has a place on the team, in my opinion.
The mysterious about this report, especially as half of it is redacted, but it's believed that Epstein employed this hacker to assist with the disinformation campaign to clean his image. And that might not have been it. Did Epstein also use this hacker to infiltrate...
Oh yeah, sorry about that, Soros. If it may sound like I'm totally schizo rambling right now, if you don't know the drama between the libs versus left.
Phones and computers of those he was compiling dirt on.
Yeah, I think Hassan would be a terrible president because he won't be able to get anything passed. And Schumer and Jeffries would pull him to the Schumer and Jeffries would pull him to the center. Yeah, definitely. I think Jeffries, everybody memes on Jeffries, but I think he's a fucking amazing House Majority Leader. By the way, hi Kayla. Thank you for stopping by. Today we're talking about a whole mix of things. We were talking about Jeffrey Epstein, but I've been kind of sidetracked by some of the comments.
The name Vincenzo Iozzo appears in multiple times in Epstein's emails, referring to a world-renowned hacker who in 2010 became the first person to hack the iPhone. Is this the redacted name? Is this all connected?
The first person to hack the iPhone? Yeah, I don't think he would be like nearly, I think he would be better than Trump, to be quite frank. He's not going to get his nationalistic, or his communistic agendas through. You know, he's not going to nationalize everything. Fuck, he may nationalize healthcare, though. Like, I'm all for, I think free healthcare is a fight worth fighting for. I just know that for me, it's a 20-year long thing. Like, I think by 2050, we will have free healthcare for all. But some people don't want to wait that long, and I can't blame them, but that's just not how our government works.
Maybe, we don't know. Yet. One of the most shocking aspects of the Epstein files has nothing to do with what's in them, but rather how it was all done. By law, victims of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse must have their identities protected, which meant faces blurred from images and names and personal information redacted from all documents they appeared in. That safeguard existed for a reason. Many of the women involved had spent years rebuilding private lives after trauma, often under assurances from the justice system that anonymity would remain intact.
Yeah, and isn't it fucking disgusting that Matt Walsh, you guys remember the clip from Matt Walsh saying, well, I don't know if we can believe these survivors. I don't know. It just sounds like this is just performative. Fucking scumbag,
and yet
dude.
We are talking about millions of documents and a ravenous public who can't wait to see the latest scandalous news. Hello there, you watching this video. The result, a spectacularly rushed job. When the files went live, nearly 100 survivor names appeared without redaction. First names, last names.
So embarrassing and such a disservice to the survivors.
Sometimes both. In some cases, contextual details made identification blatantly obvious. The disclosure spread quickly, amplified by social media, and suddenly the names of the abused were out for all to see. Legal representatives reacted immediately, and attorneys for survivors filed emergency motions describing the failure as life-threatening. Many spoke of their fear of harassment, stalking, retaliation, and renewed public exposure. Then there were the inevitable conspiracy theorists and online mobs eager to dissect their lives for entertainment. An emergency agreement followed, with the Department of Justice committing to scrubbing exposed identities as quickly as possible and removing improperly released material from public access. Guys, the horse has left the fucking stable. Thousands of documents disappeared from the DOJ website in the days that followed, which was a start, but considering the names had already been on view for days, it wasn't much consolation to Epstein's victims. And we'll finish today with a sheer magnitude of Jeffrey Epstein and his complicated web of associates linked to him by the Epstein files. Of course, we do need to say that just because a name appears in an email with Epstein doesn't necessarily mean that they were aware of the heinous actions going on. As well as a rampant child abuser, rapist, and all-around evil human being, Epstein was also a businessman, and there are undoubtedly many connected to him who did business with him and very little else. Okay, now that we've got that disclaimer out of the way, let's dive in, because the Epstein files have revealed thousands of names, many of whom are as big as they get. In terms of political prestige, from both sides of the aisle, you don't get much bigger than Trump and Clinton, with both men appearing frequently. Woody Allen, Steve Bannon, Noam Chomsky, Bill Cosby, David Copperfield, Mette Marit, Crown Princess of Norway, Sarah Ferguson, Robert Mugabe, Elon Musk, Harvey Weinstein, and Jay-Z. The list
Jesus, look at Harvey, dude.
Elon Musk, Harvey Weinstein.
Jesus. Woo! He is not looking good. Thank God. I hope his ass fucking continues to rot. So, was there coercion, any coercion going to Epstein files, like taking away passports? I mean, okay, so taking away passports from victims? True, Kalinda appears in the emails. Amen. No, I remember. That's a good meme. I mean, technically, a Kalinda does, but I don't think it's our Kalinda. Unless... No. To answer your question, Soros, it sounds like there was. I think I've heard I've heard like rumors of that, but I haven't read anything from the actual files that would say that they are taking away passports from these women and stuff like that. Some of these women signed contracts. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. Were you with us, Soros, when fucking we were watching Matt Walsh just... I mean, what he was doing was gross, and you could have done it in a better way. There was a few social security cards in the first batch of the files, so likely yes. Yeah, that kind of seems like what would happen.
Weinstein and Jay-Z. The list is astonishing, and while connections can range from being mentioned by a defendant to witnessing the island to simply an email correspondence, association sticks like tar. The point is that Epstein's connections stretched far and wide to all corners of the planet. He communicated with high-level Russian politicians as well as their Western counterparts in Europe and the US. He was on a casually friendly basis with huge names in banking, tech,
No, I wasn't for the Matt Walsh here. Oh, dude, he was... I mean, yeah, it was just gross. He was reacting to the Super Bowl ad that the Epstein survivors had put up, something that undoubtedly cost a good amount of money, and was very brave of these women to speak out about it. And he goes, "No, I think they're just lying. I think they're just..." I mean, he was a little more succinct than that, but that's what he was saying. Nah, these ones are just lying. The other women, though, they're telling the truth. Like, come on, dude. How disrespectful. I don't know. I was shocked, honestly. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but it just felt really gross.
To royal families, scientists, philanthropists, and artists, it seemed there were few avenues where Jeffrey Epstein wasn't well connected. The question everybody has long asked is why? Was it a simple yet elaborate web of control and influence? He often seemed interested in connecting certain people with other people, but what did he gain from it all? Was it all about the money? Or was it all about the power? One theory, as old as the Epstein saga itself, is that it was a giant honeypot system where he nurtured relationships with the rich, the famous, and the powerful, invited them to one of his properties, and then casually asked if they wanted to have a little fun. Then he would have images, videos, and compromising material gathered during the act, which would be used to exert influence over said person. This sort of thing isn't new, but something on this scale would be unprecedented. As we know, Jeffrey Epstein died in his cell in August 2019, officially suicide by hanging. Yet there are enough bizarrely coincidental facts that mean that the official narrative has long been questioned. Both guards claimed they fell asleep that night and then tried to falsify records. The cameras weren't working outside his cell. His neck had numerous...
Yeah, that's the issue, though.
The coroner attributed...
Those contracts were very ambiguous with what they actually meant. And they didn't quite know what... a lot of these women didn't know what they were signing. So, and especially if they're younger, you know, even if you're like younger than 20, you're not going to know how to read a contract and what to look for.
Attributed to Epstein having hurled himself from the top bunk. His defense attorney, however, has long stated that the injuries looked more like homicide than suicide. If this was a honeypot system, did Epstein anger the wrong bear who pulled a few strings and ordered the hit? Or did he really tie a noose around his neck and jump from the top bunk? Despite millions of pages, emails, images, and videos that have so far been released as part of the Epstein files, it still feels like we're standing at the bottom of a mountain,
exactly. This is what I've been saying, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who sees it.
Moving clouds. All these documents have still only revealed a fraction of the picture.
Not to play down the horror, but Epstein's abuse of girls was his hobby. Money laundering to the point of manipulating national currencies was how he became powerful. I mean, yeah, but I don't know, though, because I think there is some evidence that he was running a bit of a honeypot situation. So that would fall in line with what you said.
We may have a good idea about the victims, thanks to their bravery in coming forward, but We have no idea who Jeffrey Epstein really was. Mossad agents, international crime puppeteer, businessman with a vile side who did anything to further his own ends, man pulling the strings behind some of the major decisions and events around the world. It's difficult to know where to go and how far down the rabbit hole to disappear. What we do know is that he certainly headed a sophisticated sex
Well, yeah, they're not
operation
kids
that
anymore.
fulfilled his own seedy needs and those of others around him. We know he had a shocking level of cruelty and depravity, a monster in the truest sense, but you get the feeling it's so much worse than we know.
But I think Walt is running defense using the contract angle. I think from what we watched, I think he really didn't bring up any points. I was kind of shocked, but like he really didn't. He was just saying, "Oh, these women are liars." I could be wrong. Might have to rewatch it after this, just so I can confirm.
First of all, thank you all for being here. My name is Robert Garcia.
Anyways, the House Democrats, Lex Wexner had a deposition in the Epstein files, and now they're reacting to that.
Garcia, I am the ranking member, the lead Democrat on the Oversight Committee, and I'm here with many of our colleagues from the Oversight Committee. We're all going to make some brief remarks. I'll introduce them all, and then I'll open it up for a couple questions. And then our deposition is continuing, so we've got to continue that throughout the day. So let me just first of all give a couple overview. So we are right now in the middle of a deposition of Mr. Les Wexner. We are doing the deposition at his estate here. Right now, we are now about 2 hours into that deposition. We are on a break, and we will be going back into the deposition for the rest of the afternoon. So to be very clear, we'll be providing an update now, but there are many, many questions that we have to ask of Mr. Wexner that are important to our investigation, and so that questioning will happen throughout the day as this day moves forward. We're here because we want to talk to anyone that has information about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's crime, abuse, and trafficking of women and girls. There is no single person that was more involved in providing Jeffrey Epstein with the financial support to commit his crimes than Les Wexner. That is already, as we all know, in the public record. We've also directly heard from survivors.
A second ago about Mike raising. Yeah, I got you. Check it out. Are you talking about... Here, one moment. View in 9 hours. Oh, yeah, for sure. Is it this one? Yeah, Mike Ref Lawyer. Oh, this relates. This relates.
Super Bowl, you probably saw Ring's ad about Search Party, an AI feature that scans nearby cameras to find your lost dog or whatever you're looking for. The internet immediately called it dystopian, and they're not wrong to be concerned. In October of 2025, Ring announced a partnership with Lock Safety, a surveillance company that operates a nationwide network of AI-powered license plate readers used by more than 5,000 law enforcement agencies. This integration allows local police to request video footage from Ring users. Now you can say no, but that's where it actually gets complicated. Senator Ron Wyden's investigation found that federal agencies, including a division of ICE, all had access to Flock's network through local police. Now, even if you deny a police request to access your Ring camera, they can still get your footage through a warrant or a subpoena because it's stored on Amazon's servers. In 2020, Amazon complied with legal demands of Ring footage about 57% of the time. Now, you might ask, what about the Fourth Amendment, the right against unreasonable searches? Well, courts have long held that information you voluntarily share with a third party isn't protected. Now, when you agree to Ring's terms of service, you arguably are consenting to this. Ring and police are building a surveillance network one doorbell at a time and then handing Amazon, a corporation, the keys. If you watch this year's Super Bowl...
So yeah, I mean, very concerning, very concerning. I don't know. I kind of feel like we already live. Ron Wyden, Democrat, by the way. Fuck yeah. I feel like we kind of already live in a giant dystopian kind of deal. in terms of, like, if the police need to know where you are, they will. But even that is turning out not to be true, as nobody has any idea who murdered Nancy, or who took Nancy Guthrie. So, I mean, I think it's bad, and they shouldn't be doing that. But, I mean, the network state is forming. It's going to happen. Well, it's already happened. Palantir knows everything about you. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's sad. And, but I don't know. I've just always kind of lived under the assumption that it's, that I've been spied on since I was a baby. Not like actively spied on, but like the government knows who I am, probably. It's the, you know, I'm part of this generation that just, I'm not too concerned about, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Step 1 hasn't happened yet. No, step one would have been the phone, and the government being able to access your phone. The government, I want to see your asshole spread them. Not today, government. And I, for one, welcome the, well, you know, I'm not happy about it. I'm definitely not happy, but I'm trying to think, like, what could I do besides elect people that won't advocate for that? You know, these are the issues of having a Trump presidency, gang.
About Mr. Wexner, about his involvement, and their concerns as to the enormous amount of money that was essentially transferred over and paid to by Mr. Epstein. To be very clear, we know of approximately over $1 billion, it looks like.
What do I have to hide in my asshole? That's a great question. And one the government will never know.
$1 billion that was either transferred, provided in stocks, or given directly to Mr. Epstein by Wexner. Now, it's important to note that Mr. Wexner appears to be unaware of much of the money, as he claims, that was given over to Mr. Epstein. In fact, it's interesting that Mr. Wexner has already begun to clarify in his mind that somehow he and Mr. Epstein weren't even friends. We should be very clear that the two were very close, per reporting. They spent a lot of time together.
They were besties, dude.
Mr. Wexner admitted that he traveled to both Epstein's island as well as his other properties. Mr. Wexner also admitted that Jeffrey Epstein had access to a lot of Mr. Wexner's wealth. And when asked even simple questions, even as it relates to Mr. Epstein being the co-president of the foundation, that
dude, for real, I guess Russia, poor Russia, their internet must be down today. We're not getting any bots. No bots in the chat. That's interesting.
That we're in today, Mr. Wexner had little to say. In fact, it's clear that Mr. Wexner
it'll all come out
is
eventually. True.
How close Jeffrey Epstein and Mr. Wexner actually were. And we should be very clear that there would be no Epstein Island, there would be no Epstein plane, there would be no money to traffic women and girls. Mr. Epstein would not be the wealthy man he was without the support of Les Wexner. I think it's very important for us to note at this moment. There's a significant amount of questioning that has gone on, but I want to say one other thing and then I'm going to turn it over.
That explains the dry spell on TikTok. Maybe, honestly, maybe.
We are committed to ending this cover-up. Right now, as we speak, over 50% of the Epstein files have not been released to the public and to the Congress. Donald Trump and Pam Bondi are leading a White House cover-up to protect billionaire, wealthy benefactors, whether it's Mr. Wexner or whether it's anybody else. And that has to end now, which is why we're here and why we're willing to go anywhere and to speak to anyone with information about Jeffrey Epstein's horrific crimes. And so we have a lot of questions for Mr. Wexner, and we look forward to sharing those with all of you as well today. So with that, let me turn this over to Congressman Steve Lynch.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for your leadership. It's important to remember that...
must be hard to get a name elected with a last name like Lynch.
All the evidence, the documentary evidence that we've received so far, much of it points to this witness and Les Wexner's involvement. As Robert has laid out, the financial wherewithal for Epstein to operate in New York City, to operate in Florida, the Virgin Islands, the ability to
we have
to
an
travel.
independent journalist in Romania that hunts wannabe Timu magatards, and even he noticed this. Yeah, there is something very strange going on. I noticed it yesterday too. Or the day before. There just haven't been as much MAGA coming in the chat.
And in some cases, his own credibility. There was a period there where Epstein was saying that he was closely involved with Wexner's operation, several of his Victoria's Secret, that he was involved in that process as well. So in a very real way, Les Wexner gave Epstein credibility and gave him the ability to commit some of the crimes that he did. One of the witnesses, one of the victims, the survivors, has already indicated that she was assaulted at this facility, at the mansion here, Wexner's home here, that she was refused permission to leave that house until security had cleared that she was kept there for several hours. So in an investigation, you usually follow the documents and you follow the money. And much of that evidence and all of that money leads us to this location. So far, and I'm just speaking generally, the more this deposition goes on, the less Les Wexner knows about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. There was a deep trust between these two men. There was a deep friendship there. Not only in a business sense, but Les Wexner gave Epstein the ability to handle his children's and his family's money. So at least that part of it makes it hard to believe Les Wexner's testimony thus far. It may be a question as to whether Les Wexner was involved in the crimes directly, but there is no question in my mind, given the evidence so far, that Les Wexner knew about this and failed to stop it and gave Epstein license and the ability to commit these crimes.
Oh, definitely. Make the same mistake in European languages, the Russian bots.
To do. We have actually sat down and listened, not once, not twice, but on multiple occasions to the survivors. As you saw last week, AG Bondi wouldn't even turn and look at the survivors, let alone allow her DOJ to do their job, which is to investigate. So here we are as the legislative branch doing our jobs and trying to do oversight. Let me tell you, the survivors have said over and over and over, follow the money. That was the one thing that they told us, as well as their attorneys. follow the money. Well, we're following the money. But I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and tell you that we are running into dead ends at this moment. On yesterday, I was asked about this particular deposition and what I anticipated I would hear. As a trained attorney and litigator, once they told me he wasn't taking the fifth, I thought that the record would be full of I don't remembers. I will tell you that once this record comes out, you will see that you most likely will be left with more questions than answers. It is almost inconceivable to be missing the amounts of money that are missing, and somehow Mr. Wexner have no idea. The other thing that I want you to pay attention to, because again, as a trained litigator, think about some of the themes that we keep hearing. We know that there were supposedly these fraudulent modeling agencies that were set up all over the country. And girls would go in thinking that they were going to get their chance at modeling.
Orange Man bad.
Victoria's Secret. We know Victoria's Secret was known specifically for their fashion shows. We know that there are reports of girls that went in thinking that they were potentially going in to model. These are not coincidences. There's two things that have been clear, is that there were always young girls seemingly looking for an opportunity to model, and there were always rich and powerful people on the other side, dangling a carrot, saying, I will give you the life that you're seeking. Yet ultimately, the stories are the same. They're stories of abuse. They're stories of trafficking at the highest level. And I will tell you one thing that was remembered for sure was when asked about Donald Trump.
Oh,
Donald Trump
God
and
damn it.
Epstein, and whether or not
I know you hate him, but this is not the time. Not the time. I think he's guilty too. I think he's guilty too. I think he was probably one of the big people in this trafficking ring. But it's not the time. You gotta let the people breathe a little bit. But, you know, I get it. Donald Trump's a piece of shit, so. By the way, TGD, would you concede the fact that the economy was better under Trump than under Biden? No, not at all. We're losing jobs under Donald Trump. We are losing massive amounts of jobs, and anything that good that happened in his first term was immediately tarnished by how he handled COVID. Biden had a strong economy. The only thing that was a big issue was inflation, and that happened everywhere around the world. I'm sorry, Biden was a good president. Wait, what? Economic... Okay.
they had been in the same room.
Trump was going down before COVID? Yeah, but after COVID really destroyed his reputation.
What that looked like. He didn't quite remember, but he imagined that, yes, that possibly happened. Because he did remember that Donald Trump also would like to show up to the Victoria's Secret runway shows. Now, that was a little odd to him, he said, because Donald Trump was not engaged in fashion whatsoever. But he does recall that. He also said something that I feel like we've heard over and over and over, which is that Epstein liked to drop people's names. So he'd imagine that that may have been one of the names that he dropped. Listen, I want the American people, but more specifically, I want the survivors and anyone who is struggling right now to know that we see you, we feel you, and we are fighting for you. We will not stop. If Mr. Wexner is honest about his intentions in helping us, then we're asking him, if he doesn't remember, then go ahead and turn over all of your financial records, because we need to follow the money, because That is exactly what the survivors told us to do. And we know that the Department of Justice is either inadequate or just not interested in doing justice as it relates to this
Oh,
particular
that's interesting.
scenario.
I didn't know about that.
We in America
Steph.
deserve better. We are looking around the country and we're seeing CEOs that are having to leave their own companies. We're seeing people that are having to leave their board positions. We're seeing princes being dethroned. We're seeing all kinds of stuff everywhere except for right here at the highest levels of federal government. Whether we're talking about Donald Trump himself or whether we're talking about Secretary Lutnick, and the list goes on. We deserve better in
Lutnick
this
does
country,
need to
and we will
resign,
get it.
dude. I'm sorry, you can't lie like that and just
Good morning.
keep your position.
You know, over the course of the last year, the American public has been witnessing what I can only call the most egregious cover-up in American history. And today was a critical part of our investigation to try to end this cover-up once and for all. We have met with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and the rich and powerful people that helped to perpetuate these crimes. And we have heard over and over from these victims the name of Les Wexner and the importance of following the money. Because the story of Jeffrey Epstein is one that can almost, you know, it almost is the plot of a movie that is turned into a nightmare. And the real reason Jeffrey Epstein was able to get away with raping and abusing children, young women, boys, young men for so many years was because...
Wait, who saved the world? Oh, JFK saved the world from nuclear annihilation. Yes, very good president. Big fan of JFK, not gonna lie.
Because of the vast amounts of money that he was able to acquire, and that largely came from Les Wexner here in Ohio. So we're here to ask Les Wexner the critical questions, and it's been very interesting to see the types of responses that he's giving and his demeanor throughout the interview. He claims to want to provide information and to be helpful in the investigation, but then quickly follows up by saying that he does not recall details around a relationship with somebody that he had for decades. Les Wexner handed his power of attorney to Jeffrey Epstein. He allowed Jeffrey Epstein to live in his homes, to have hundreds of millions of his dollars, to use his yachts and his planes. This was obviously a very, very close relationship, and so far what we have seen is a denial of that relationship. Another important theme that has come up today is that Les Wexner is actually tied to other sex trafficking and child abuse scandals here in Ohio, around the country. There are reports of payments that were made to a gynecologist at Ohio State University.
God.
And that money went through Jeffrey Epstein, but came from Les Wexner. And he has been asked about this with no real response, no recollection. And again, as my colleagues have said, I don't think it is feasible or understandable or conceivable that any individual would not have an understanding of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of their own money and can't answer to those questions. So it is clear that this cover-up is vast. It goes as high as the White House and the Department of Justice that still has not released the majority of the Epstein files, still has illegally redacted information, still has not begun any indictments or
Follow the
prosecutions
money,
for the
for
very
real.
credible allegations that are in the files that we already have seen, all the way to people at universities, in companies, and vast networks of elite individuals across this country. And what I can tell you very clearly is that oversight Democrats on this committee will not back down until we get every detail, until every person who enabled and perpetrated these crimes is held accountable. Thank you.
No, I think that's a good one to end on for that one. I wanted to catch the PBS NewsHour and see what they were talking about yesterday. Oh my gosh, but let's break this up with some more videos of octopuses.
Whoa.
And look at this guy. So they just found this poor little dude. He was scared. Look at that. Look at that. It goes from a rock to a beautiful species of octopi. Yeah, such a positive note to end on. I know, right? Nothing will happen to these people. I disagree. I think at some point we will see some sort of justice. Oh my goodness. Aw, you had to let him go. What? Found what? What did you find? Oh my god, look how cute they are. The octopus is such an intelligent creature. Oh yeah, we were having an octopus moment earlier. We've been having a bit of an octopus moment. Oh, is that just the, Hell yeah, let's watch some of this. They're probably one of my favorite animals, guys, I can't lie. I won't sit here and, front. I'd be an octopus. That's AI. Is it AI? Probably. This isn't what we meant to watch. One moment, guys. Oh, hold on. I didn't copy it. You know what? That might be AI. I don't know. That looked pretty real. It is AI? Oh, damn. I've fallen for the AI. This isn't AI, though. Look at this guy. Damn, I got fooled, guys. They're fooling even me. They're fooling even me. Now this, look at this. I want this. Is this music copyrighted? I don't think this music is copyrighted. Come on. Interesting. So they've developed small fins on the top of their head. Aw, that's so cute. It looks like a companion you'd have in like an RPG. It's an Ophidioteuthis. I'm looking forward to the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. Hey, next community day. I don't know when that will be though. Probably once we hit 400 subs. I think that will be, I'll plan it out. I'll put a community post letting everybody know the tournament is getting ready. You have to download Master Duel though, so. Oh, dude, that is so cute. They look so silly. Flapjack octopuses. That's what they're called. That's what they're colloquially called, eh? 3 years for their eggs to hatch? Wow. Gotta run. The Russian hunter is live. We'll have a good day. Good luck with that. I'll probably be ending once I go over a little bit of the PBS NewsHour. Good having you here, Soros. Have a good day, man.
Good evening. I'm Jeff.
Let's go!
On the NewsHour tonight, Meta
Oh,
CEO
damn.
Mark Zuckerberg takes the stand in a landmark trial on the addictive nature of social media.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard about
From
this.
a parent about the risks to kids.
These social media companies are designing them in a way that is addicting our children, and they are operating with complete impunity.
The U.S. says it will further reduce its troop presence in Syria after fighting ISIS there for the last decade.
And the immigration crackdown in the Twin Cities creates long-term uncertainties.
All right, I do just want to kind of watch over the social media trial. That seems interesting. This channel is Malinbot. Bet I'll check them out later.
Intentionally design their social media platforms to hook young users with addictive features like infinite scroll, personally tailored algorithms, and push notifications. YouTube is also included in the lawsuit. TikTok and Snapchat chose to settle before the trial started. The outcome will have big implications for some 1,600 similar cases across the country and could lead to monetary damages or force major changes to the platforms themselves. For more, we're joined now by NPR tech correspondent Bobby Allen. Bobby, it's always good to see you. So what is the central legal question in this case? And
who is this Chad? Hold on. Bro, he looks... I don't know what is so funny. Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, I'm the coolest guy in the room. What's up?
It's always good to see you. So what is...
Bro, his face is so still. No, man.
Is the central legal question in this case, and what stands
He's trying to mog Jeff right now.
out about the strategy the plaintiffs are pursuing here?
Bro, why are you mogging Jeff?
The central question is, are these tech companies legally culpable for hooking young people to social media apps? And what that essentially will mean is, will they have to pay billions of dollars in monetary damages? Will they have to make sweeping reforms to Instagram, to YouTube? And what did they know about the harms to young people? What did they do to conceal it to the public? And very importantly, Jeff, was this deliberate?
As Amna mentioned, the Meta CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, he testified under oath. What was the atmosphere in the courtroom? You were there. And what did he say?
Yeah, so Zuckerberg took the witness stand, and you could tell he was getting kind of testy. He often responded by saying things like, "I think you're mischaracterizing me," or "That's not what I said at all," or "I think you're taking this document out of context." Zuckerberg was trying vociferously to demonstrate that the lawyers in the case were basically trying to lawyer him, right? To try to catch him in a gotcha moment. But meanwhile, what the plaintiff's lawyers were really focused on was trying to really illustrate that Zuckerberg himself was interested in recruiting and retaining children as young as 11 years old to Facebook and Instagram, and keeping them on the platform for as long as possible with all of these very sticky features like likes and push notifications and beauty filters was something that Zuckerberg himself ordered.
Well, how challenging will it be for the plaintiffs to
why is
prove that these
YouTube in
platforms
this?
were
I feel like
intentionally
YouTube isn't nearly as egregious as the other
It's
ones.
going to be a really uphill battle, because it's one thing that, social media apps have fueled people's feelings of depression, body dysmorphia, suicide ideation, all of these other mental health issues, right? To sort of exacerbate that. It's another to cause it. And what experts say is, you know, adolescent mental health issues have a lot of sort of very complex root causes. And this case is going to hinge on what degree the jury believes the companies themselves caused the mental distress that so many of these young people have experienced. And we have one person here who's now in her 20s who says she got addicted to TikTok and Instagram and YouTube very young, but there are 1,600 other plaintiffs who have consolidated into this giant legal case against these tech giants. So
no, because of YouTube Shorts, that's where I'm on. No, that's okay. I don't think it's going to affect anything too substantially in my neck of the woods. But that is I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the verdict is.
A really, really far-reaching impact on all of these other cases that are awaiting the outcome.
In the 30 seconds we have left, Bobby, for decades, as you well know, tech companies have relied on Section 230. It's this federal law that shields these platforms from liability for user-generated content. How does that play into all of this?
Exactly. So people say social media addiction. Isn't that kind of an old issue? We've been debating that for decades. The reason why we haven't had a big trial until now is because of Section 230, which is a sort of impenetrable fortress for Silicon Valley. Anytime you try to sue Meta or Google or TikTok, they invoke Section 230. The lawsuit goes away. What's novel here, Jeff, is the legal approach. They are attacking Meta and Google by saying this is a defective product, similar to how tobacco was a defective product in the 90s. There was a
I'm addicted to That Guy Doesn't Exist. Hey, shout out. And if you too are addicted to That Guy Doesn't Exist, please remember to like and subscribe because it helps out the channel and you grow taller from what I heard. Hey, what's up, Sherry?
Saying that they specifically targeted and misled young people to get addicted to their product. That is what is being compared in this case, that this is the big tobacco comparison, but in the social media era.
Bobby Allen, thanks for sharing your reporting and insights with us.
He looks like he's mogging. He's mogging.
More on this now from the perspective of a parent.
Jeff, Maureen Molak lost her son David back in 2016 when he died by suicide. She is not a plaintiff in this case, but she is the co-founder of Parents for Safe Online Spaces, a coalition of families who have lost children to online harms and are bringing similar lawsuits. Maureen, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, tell me about your son David.
Thanks for having me, Allie. David was the youngest of three boys, and we grew up in a Christian home. We went to church on Sunday. He was an Eagle Scout and a basketball player. And after a serious basketball injury, David, while he was rehabbing, turned to social media and online gaming. And over a period of about 8-9 months, we started to see a real change in his behavior. He was showing all the signs of a behavioral addiction, and we were seeking out mental health supports. And that's when he became the target of cyberbullying by a group of classmates at his home. And it was the final match on a huge bonfire that just exploded in our home, and David lost hope and took his own life.
And now today, lawyers for the plaintiffs in this social media case are arguing that this is about the ABCs, which stands for addicting the brains of children, intentionally doing so. Would you say that that has been your experience, that is what happens to children? And do you draw a line between David's use of social media and his death?
I absolutely do believe that it played a major role, if not the catalyst of what made him take his life, or to feel like that there was no way out of the situation. In my particular situation,
she's not necessarily speaking in my... It's heartbreaking what happened, so I'm not going to say anything.
David's behavior was, He would get angry and aggressive, and we would try to get him to stop using his devices. He was sneaking around using them when he wasn't supposed to. He was lying about completing his schoolwork, and then there towards the end, he started stealing from us in order to purchase virtual assets to increase his player power through some of these gaming platforms. Even after David was medically cleared to go back and play basketball, he no longer had the desire to, and he preferred to sit behind a screen. And that's when we knew we were in a very serious situation with
Say
him.
it. No,
And
I'm
the
not
parents
gonna.
that I have been
I just think, like, is social media necessarily to blame for that? Because it doesn't sound like social media was the reason that it sounds like the cyberbullying was. And if that's the case, that would fall under Section 230. So, while it's heartbreaking, and, I definitely, the world is less colorful without him, I just don't think it's necessarily the fault of Facebook or games.
been working with for the last 4 years or so have been crying out that these social media
But this is because, wow, how insensitive. I know, right? I just, like, and this is because there's a common issue when parents looking for answers put exercises blame on social media, often makes claims the content that doesn't seem to be present in the way they describe. Claims of content. Yeah, exactly. And, like, I don't think these people necessarily, like, this is an old view of addiction, right? This is an old view of addiction. We know addiction isn't just, you do the drug and you're addicted for the rest of your life. There are extenuating circumstances to why people get addicted. It's not like how they're portraying it here.
companies are designing them in a way that is addicting our children, and they are operating with complete impunity.
Like that I can agree with. Yes, they are designing systems to make them addictive. And, I don't even deny he may have been addicted to social media to a certain aspect, but I don't think that's the reason he ended his own life. And I definitely don't think video games were. All right, I'm going to stop talking about this because I could.
To you, the statement from Meta today, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, quote, "We strongly disagree with these allegations and are confident the evidence will show our longstanding commitment to supporting young people. For over a decade, we've listened to parents to make meaningful changes, like introducing teen accounts with built-in protections and providing parents with tools to manage their teens' experience."
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. It's not on the parents necessarily. Depression is a horrible thing. It takes people in various different ways, so I have no doubt he was probably struggling, so. And I'm sure she's struggling.
How do you respond?
Well, first of all, of course they're going to say that because they are on trial right now. I would just say that we've been working with whistleblowers for many years, and we know that the internal documents, we're going to see the evidence. We're going to see new evidence that's going to be released this week that's going to show that what Meta claims is not actually the truth. And so, all of the internal documents that are going to show that even their own internal research is going to show that they were addicted.
Yeah, I agree with SBC. I don't blame the grieving parents too much, but I do blame officials who reinforce the claims and write up terrible legislation using the tragedies as justification. Yeah. And I do think, I just don't think what she's talking about really applies to this case. Is this a widespread issue? I mean, it is kind of social media being an addictive thing, I guess, but it's like saying, like, addictive. What does that even mean in this context? Like, I check my social media every once in a while. Is that like me doing a puff of weed every once? Like, I just don't think it really holds up to the same standards of how we, like, classify addictions.
Kids, they knew what was happening and they didn't do enough to stop it.
Maureen, you were in the hearing room with Mark Zuckerberg when he testified before the Senate in 2024. I'd like to ask you what that was like, and how do you think parents who are in the courtroom with him today are feeling?
Well, it was a very surreal moment to be that close to Mark Zuckerberg, knowing that David was harmed on his platform, Instagram. And
I don't think social media can be addictive. Well, like, any behavior can become an addiction. But is it like, I don't know, because they do design these interfaces to be constantly moving. That's why my screen is like this, is because of that. But I don't know. I'd have to really look at the case, because if the case is they designed these to be addictive to children and they can show substantial evidence, then yeah, in this case, the prosecutors are totally right. Honestly, I think social media should be banned from anybody who isn't 18. I don't know. It's just a me thing, though.
And the apology was a forced apology. It was a very shallow apology. But what he's done since then, actions speak much louder than words.
Are you hoping for any recourse as a result of this particular trial?
I think we're going to see the court of public opinion. I think parents will be vindicated. I think these families who have been talking about this and not knowing what to do in order to protect their kids online. This is not a parent problem. So I think that what we're going to see is actual change is going to come out of these.
Oh, we got a Trump dump. Mr. Young Thug. I got nothing, but don't matter. No. What's up and what's the deal? You guys know that song? Country Billy made a couple milli. Try to get that Rolls Royce inside the Piccadilly. That's a good song.
This trial, this is not the only trial we're going to see. There's many more to come.
Maureen Molek, co-founder of Parents for Safe Online Spaces. Thank you so much.
All right. Her last name is Moloch, guys. Come on.
Thank you,
Joking.
Allie.
It's very sad, and her son seemed like a great person, truly. He seemed like a really intelligent guy, and I'm sorry to hear about her loss.
Another major news story.
And then this is the last thing I wanted to cover, because it seems like we are, as more Epstein file news happens, the Middle East is the world's about to experience
Today,
a war.
This one overseas. Today, a senior administration official told PBS NewsHour the U.S. will reduce the number of U.S. troops who've been fighting ISIS in Syria. The statement comes after a major shift in U.S. policy in the country, removing support from Kurdish forces who fight ISIS alongside American troops to support Syria's new president, Ahmed al-Shara. Meanwhile, next door in Iran,
There will be addiction like gambling, but for social media, true addiction isn't the same as being a heavy user. Yeah, I guess it's like being obsessed with how many likes you get and stuff. Like, that is an issue. Although, I'm not obsessed with how many likes I get and shit. And, You know, I love this stuff. So I don't know. But again, I'm not a child, so...
The country appears to be bracing for a U.S. strike. Nick Schifrin is following all of this, and he joins us now. So, Nick, let's start with Syria. What's the U.S. saying about Syria?
I don't know, that senior administration official telling me tonight that, quote, the U.S. presence at scale is no longer required in Syria, given the Syrian government's willingness to take primary responsibility for combating the terrorist threat within its borders. But a military official tells me this is not a withdrawal of the 1,000 or so troops that have been stationed in Syria. Instead, it's what this official calls a consolidation. The U.S. has already announced it would close 2 bases in Syria, and the official tells me the final number and location of U.S. troops is dependent on how capable the Syrian government is to fight ISIS. For the last decade, though, those U.S. troops fought ISIS alongside the mostly Kurdish Syrian Defense Forces, who controlled most of the northeast, and together they liberated the area from ISIS. But as you said,
and then we said, fuck the Kurds.
All in with Ahmed al-Shara, and recently central government forces overran Kurdish positions, and the U.S. withdrew support for the Kurds. And this past weekend at the Munich Security Conference...
Okay, now we're getting our Trump dumps. Right at the end of my show, we get a Trump dump. Isn't that frustrating? Well, Trump is not winning on anything. Can you tell me one thing Trump is quote-unquote winning on? One thing. That's all you got to tell me.
With Mazdoum Abdi, he is the commander-in-chief of the Syrian Democratic Forces, and he warns that any U.S. withdrawal would threaten the political agreement that he made with the central government.
I now hate Trump. What a scumbag. Well, hey, I agree with you. And I know there's a lot of people in my chat that liked Trump for a little bit and then realized this man is evil. Yeah, his lies. Exactly. That's what people have an issue with, is his lies. Like, this man will not stop lying. He couldn't stop to save his life.
And
it's a waterfall. And it's just destroying the reputation of America. I think we'll be able to recover it because we are the best nation in the world. But, yeah, he's getting away with hurting kids. Exactly. Well, don't worry. I feel like justice might be slow, but it will have it will reap its harvest, let's say.
Fight against ISIS.
I believe withdrawing American troops at this critical moment is not a good idea, as it will inevitably...
Oh my god. Bro, why? We are so stupid. So dumb. I don't think it's a good idea. Great.
I believe withdrawing American troops at this critical moment is not a good idea.
Yeah, that's the general of Syria, by the way. I smell bullshit and I'm allergic. Oh, I'm immune to gaslighting. Hey, don't flip me off. That's mean. Trump winning billions. Yes, Roy, the rest of us are losing. Amen, Edward. Or Edouard. Cool name. I like that name. One of my knights in Conquest of Elysium is named Edwin.
As it will inevitably present inherent challenges, especially in
E-Dog. How do I fuck these names up? I think I'm forming dyslexia, guys. I think I'm slowly starting to form dyslexia. How do I fuck that up? Woo! Somebody needs to get their eyes checked. It's normal to see, like, the little floaters, though, so I think I'll be fine.
Ongoing fight against terrorism. There will be severe negative consequences. I believe that the presence of the United States is very crucial for implementing existing agreements, achieving stability in Syria, and for the commitment of all parties to the agreements.
Yeah, this is the general of Syria. Remember the reasoning we're leaving Syria, because we believe the Syrian forces can handle it. This is the general of Syria saying, we cannot handle it. Wow. You can't make this shit up, dude. You really can't make this shit up. It is absolutely insane. But, anyways, I mean, what? This makes no sense strategically. We're just gonna damage our, we're just gonna, it's gonna lead to more instability.
To continue, at the same time for us to continue the fight against ISIS.
But tonight, a U.S. military official insists no decision made to go to zero Amna, and the U.S. will continue to partner with the Syrian government against ISIS.
Another major story you've been tracking now, the U.S. and Iranian officials.
I don't think Kayla meant to tag you, Professor Oak. Don't worry.
Officials met yesterday to continue negotiations over that country's nuclear program. What have we learned about how that negotiation went?
An Iranian official...
Yeah, that's what I thought. They're just dead cells, detached cells floating in the fluid of my eye. USA is a terrorist? Well, I mean, I think we've done pretty bad things in our past, and we're doing bad things now. Libtards are destroying this country, says Travis Bennett. I don't know, man. I'm not the one that's killing American citizens in our streets. I'm not the one starting a war with Iran to distract from the Epstein files. That's all I'm saying.
A regional official both confirmed to me tonight that Iran has made this offer: a pause in domestic enrichment of uranium to produce nuclear fuel through the end of the first Trump administration, entering into some kind of regional consortium for enrichment in the future, and 3, exporting or diluting the highly enriched uranium that's one step away from weapons grade that the U.S. bombed last summer in exchange.
Hold on. What? Look at these fucking look at this offer. Holy shit. Friendly fire. Yeah, don't worry. Holy shit. This is actually a really good offer. To pause domestic enrichment. To only start enriching once there's a regional consortium. So that would mean other nations have to, will also be checking on Iran and agencies above, like international agencies too. And then exporting or diluting. Well, I think the exporting their highly enriched uranium. Think about that. That's a really good deal, dude. That's honestly not horrible. Now, I still think I'm going to be a little silly here, guys. I'm not a fan of the Iranian regime. So, while this is a good deal, I don't believe anything on the news. They're all paid for. Well, I suggest watching PBS NewsHour. That's where I get, that's where I started getting my news. Now I use places like the AP, ABC, and CBS. Those are the ones I have on my phone. I'm not downloading Fox News on my phone. I'm sorry.
Iran would ask for sanctions relief and open up to U.S. investment. Officials tell me the U.S. has made it.
Now, if you want to get a little fancy, you can upgrade. Get the New York Times. Get you Wall Street Journal. And those aren't even that expensive.
Counteroffer and continues to insist that Iran permanently give up any ability to enrich uranium domestically. And today we heard from White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt hinting at that ongoing impasse.
There was a little bit of progress made, but we're still very far apart on some issues. I believe the Iran...
Yeah, I know. The No New Wars president is doing crazy work recently. Enjoy your war on intelligence and children. No, you mistake. I'm not MAGA. Yeah, I'm actually a liberal. Yeah. It might be easy to mistake me, but I'm not the Republican Party as of right now.
Iranians are expected to come back to us with some more detail in the next couple of weeks. And so
By the way, if you
President
guys are
will
enjoying the
continue to watch how
stream,
this
please
plays out.
remember to like and
Levitt today insisted
subscribe.
the
It really
president's
helps out the
priority is a
channel and
deal,
gets
but
me
on that, the
boosted
US
out
has
there.
deployed what the president calls an armada to the region, including the U.S.'s largest aircraft carrier and its strike group, dozens of additional fighter jets. Former officials, analysts telling me the U.S. is capable of delivering a strong blow against Iran, but will find it difficult to defend itself and allies from a big Iranian response.
What do those former officials and analysts tell you about the chance of a deal?
Exactly what Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said in the last couple of days. It is very difficult because the U.S. demands are larger than what Iran is willing to concede. Iran will simply not give up that right for domestic enrichment, says former State Department official and current distinguished diplomatic fellow at the Middle East Institute, Alan Iyer.
Support for Israel or no? Well, I think what Israel has done and continues to do in the West Bank and Gaza is fucking disgusting and should be condemned. When you say support, what do you mean? Like, I think we need to hold them accountable, and Netanyahu should be arrested. But, I do admit that they are a valuable ally in the Middle East. It shouldn't be erased or anything like that. I'm for a two-state solution. So there we go. Support the purchase of Greenland or no? No. I don't think we need it. We basically already have it with the NATO alliances. And we have an agreement that allows us to extract resources from it.
In the face of pressure will invite further aggression. What they're doing now is they're getting ready to take a hit. Satellite imagery is showing this. Open press reporting is showing this. I'm sure intelligence is reporting this. While they're continuing negotiations with the U.S., they fully expect these negotiations not to result in a deal, and they're preparing themselves for a massive U.S. military attack.
And those preparations, Amna, include steps like deploying troops across the country, dispersing decision-making authority, and fortifying nuclear sites. All signs, again, that analysts believe Iran is preparing for a U.S. strike.
Nick Schifrin tracking two major stories overseas. Nick, thank you.
Thank you.
We start the day's other headlines, meanwhile, in Northern California.
All
At
right.
least 8 people.
Oh, rest in peace if they got hurt in the avalanche, but I gotta get out of here. Guys, if you enjoyed the stream, please remember to like and subscribe. Yeah, I think Russia just got their Wi-Fi back. Hey, Ukraine's rocking your shit right now, aren't they? We've been able to take back land in Ukraine. Think about that. For the first time in years, we are taking back land. The Ukrainian people are forcing Russia to concede land. I mean, that's fucking beautiful, if you ask me. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I have to get out of here. I gotta get ready for work, unfortunately. But if someday you want me never to have to go to work and have super long streams, remember to like and subscribe, and maybe someday, Slava Ukraini, amen. Someday we can exist in a world where I do this full time. However, that's not this world. So, I will see you guys tomorrow. Remember to like and subscribe. I'm going to try to do some shorts. And until then, peace out. And see ya. Maybe. Okay, that was 3 ads I just had to skip. Those ads should be illegal.